Let's check in with the Nationals leader, David Littleproud. David, thanks so much for your time and patience, as always. You never know how long these media conferences are going to last for. Look, sounds like productivity where you are in Bendigo, Victoria. But I want to talk about this housing policy because are farmers and regional Australians worried about house prices as much as we are in the city? Or are they worried about these decades of debt and deficit, which no one seems to have a plan to pay down?
Well, we do have a housing crisis in regional Australia, and it is just as acute out here, and we need the workers to be able to come out and to be able to have the amenity. Otherwise, we don't fill the jobs and we actually don't produce your food. That means the supply goes down, price goes up. And that's why our policies are a very targeted one, particularly around the $5 billion that's going to the last mile of infrastructure. A third of that's going to regional and rural Australia, and it's a use it or lose it policy. I mean, we can sit there and talk about big spending amounts, but unless actually the rubber hits the road, then we don't get anything built. Then this is an abject failure of state and local governments in terms of planning. But what we can do is make sure that the money we do put out comes with caveats and making sure that it actually is getting the results immediately. The second thing is about migration. I mean, you've got to have a migration policy that works for the country. And when they're bringing in 1.8 million people, flooding them into this country without any real understanding of the people they're bringing in or the skills we need, they prioritise dog groomers and martial arts instructors over some roofers, some tilers, some electricians and plumbers that actually can build supply. So you need to pull the levers at a federal level to help build that. And in terms of what we're talking about, we can't run away from the fact that, Laura, there's people tonight that will not be able to put dinner on the table. And so what we're saying is the measures that we're putting in place is temporary and targeted. When we do make tax reform, it'll be tax reform that actually goes to address big things like bracket creep. But at the moment, we've got a government that has put many Australians in a position where they can't even afford dinner, let alone their mortgage bill, let alone their electricity bill. You've got to get them through the here and now, and that's great for economists, and I respect their opinion. But there's a human side to this that economics doesn't always pick up. And the economics is that there's people living in tents in regional Australia as well as in cities because they can't afford their mortgage, they can't afford their energy bill. And are we to sit back and let them be the human consequence of this? So what we've done is led into this with some maturity and understanding that this is temporary and targeted, and we'll make the big reforms, but we'll structurally fix energy. Energy is the economy. If we do that, then we get the settings right and we get people back into homes and being able to afford dinner.
Temporary tax relief, I think you'd agree, David, isn't reform. And when you talk about bracket creep, have you got a big spending?
Well, it's not. I'm not saying it is.
Yeah. So what are you going to do about bracket creep?
Well, when we can afford it. But the here and now problem is
When's
the human toll that you can see even here in Bendigo.
It doesn't look like in a decade. It's all red.
Well, let me tell you what happens, Laura, is the very first week of Parliament, we introduced a bill to reduce everyone's fuel bill by, on average, $14 every time they go by cutting the fuel excise.
Yeah, that's not reform either,
we're actually going to get gas into the... Well, Laura, you've got to do what you can that drives the economy and keeps people, saves them in the here and now. And we're also going to make sure that we get the energy grid fixed within 12 months by getting gas into it. We're not going on this all ideological renewables approach. So we are saying that we have a here and now. We're going to cut the fuel excise to help people fill up their car every time they do it to get to work, to pay the bills. And if you're a uni student, it might give you some hope that you don't have to miss our meal or just be on noodles, on frozen noodles for the night.
Oh, every uni student's on frozen noodles, as they should be. It's character building. What about those guys behind you, David? Are you buying them breakfast? I can't even see that guy's face. Is that out of design? That he's just shielding himself from the sun?
That is Andrew Lethlean. That is Andrew Lethlean, our candidate here in Bendigo.
He's
no, he's taken it out. That's him. He's a local publican, brought his family up here. And look, the people at Bendigo have had a gutful of being treated with contempt for 27 years. And he's a local guy, brought his family up here, believes in this community. And it is one of the most beautiful places in regional Australia, I've got to say. Even though I'm a proud Queenslander, I've got to say, Bendigo has pipped us on a couple of awards recently, and you can see why. It's a beautiful place. But Andrew's doing a great job bringing some common sense to Bendigo and giving real choice here.
Who's the other bloke? Is he a dentist or something? Doesn't want his face to be shown on TV.
No, I don't think we've got too many dentists in the National Party. We're normally those blue-collar, small business workers, Laura.
All right, we'll leave you to it. Enjoy Bendigo. Yep, we'll leave it there.